One of the things I love to do at One Rental at a Time is speak with the CEO of Hemlane, Dana Dunford. And one of the reasons I love to talk to her about it is she operates a company with over 28,000 units. So then when I want to see what's going on across the country in mom and pop landlords, I can get a great answer. So this morning, I asked Dana, what is going on with evictions? I am hearing that evictions are spiking. I am hearing that consumers are struggling. So instead of saying, hey, that's what I'm hearing, I thought I would go to the source. So, Dana, what did you find out when you dug into the numbers for 2024? What happened in July?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Michael. And just for those listening out there, we help manage 28,000 rentals, and we have something called Rent Defense, which really helps anytime a tenant is late on rent, to help with mediation, eviction notice serving, all of that. So it's been a focus of ours, and obviously we have data behind it. What we are tracking every single month is how many of those requests get opened. So how many tenants are late on rent? And what you will see is that it was relatively flat, I would say, for, April, May, and June, right? You don't see too much change in the number of requests that open. Here's the kicker. In July, we saw 106% increase in tenants who are late on rent. So if you think about it, take the chances of the tenant being late on rent and double that. That is essentially what that 106% means. So Michael, I know you talk to others out there. Would love to kind of hear what you think is going on, especially given this huge spike that we see.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. I mean, a lot of times you hear things and the data doesn't back it up. When I asked you this question this morning, I really didn't know what was coming because again, you have actual data on 28,000. And the other thing I love about your system is you talk about these opening up, it's system generated. So it's not a
Yeah.
human being, it's not an opinion, it's not no, it's like the tenant's late, hit the thing. It's part of your rent guard,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Which makes sure the mom and pop landlords are following the process and notices and it's just all of that stuff you have to do. So the fact that this thing went up 106%, so that's on a percentage basis. Let's put some raw numbers. Roughly 470 spiked to 970, roughly, right? I'm rounding the
Yep.
last digit.
That's
And
correct.
when you take that on the top of 28,000 units, we essentially went from 1.5 to 3.5%.
Mhm.
That's meaningful. And
Yeah.
what is really funny is the previous 3 months were basically flat. And if you look at the entire year, because we looked at the data together, you see a little spike in January, which is historically normal, right? Christmas season. Then you see March typically being the best month because of tax refunds. This July spike is concerning, at least in my opinion. And it is something we should be watching, right? Because again, if we continue to see eviction notices spike, tenants go late, um, this is meaning. I mean, you're 28,000 units to see evictions
Yeah.
double in a month. That's not noise. That's called signal, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that from a signaling perspective, you're right. There's is sometimes you can look at the data and say, okay, this makes sense. Like for example, in January compared to now, there were 600 versus now there's 1,000, right?
Sure.
And so that has gone up, but the January, when you look at January versus December, it went up, and everyone knows why. People spend so much on their Christmas gifts for their family because they have to get their mom and niece and nephew and everyone a gift. That makes sense that January you're going to be late, you're strapped
Mhm.
for cash. March seeing a decline after January and February and seeing a decline in March makes sense for exactly what you said, tax refunds. What's interesting is there's nothing in July, there's no big holiday spending
Nope.
holiday or anything like that that would impact this. And so you're right, there's from an affordability perspective and a financing and a budgeting perspective with tenants, something going on here
Yeah.
that is having more tenants fall behind. And this is just, obviously the tenants late on rent. Then, we looked farther down into the funnel, right, Michael? And we looked at
Mhm.
even in the mediation step. that is still up over 24%. And so what we're basically seeing is that the number of tenants who are cost burdened due to their financial situation is increasing in July. And as you've mentioned, we haven't seen that in the past 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, this is important. And again, what I would do as a landlord, and what we'll be doing together next month, no doubt, is looking at August. Because could this be some
Yeah,
historical blip because of travel season, or who knows? Maybe. But we need to see if this is, have we set a new plateau, or are we on the elevator up, right? Does it go
yeah,
from 470 to 970 to 1250 to 1500? We've got to watch this, because something in the general economy could be breaking. Because
yes,
again, generally speaking, people don't like to live in their cars. So
yeah.
rent typically gets paid, right? It's one of those things. So yeah, this is interesting. And it's really weird when I look at our portfolio, which is obviously nowhere close to 28,000. We saw evictions spike. We actually saw it go up March and April, right? People that got behind, that
Mm,
didn't catch up, and frankly chose to go somewhere else. Some left the state, all of that. But we
yeah.
actually had great collections last month and this month. So it's pretty weird.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm very interested to see August data, to your point, because we haven't seen this
Yeah.
historically.
You know what? You know what? This just hit me. I wonder if it's in the data. We didn't look at this ahead of time, but maybe we can get ready for next week. When the next thing I would ask myself, if I had your data, was, do we
Yeah.
have any states that are disproportionately affected? Like, is it Texas and Florida,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
right? Are we seeing a disproportionate spike there? And again, I would compare like, if I had this spreadsheet, this numbers, I would take, what would it be? July, June, May, June, and July. I would then take the raw numbers, add state, and see if there
Yep.
was any states up 100%. Because I'm actually just playing this within my head. I would, I would, I'd bet $1 that 5 states make up at least 80% of the increase. That would be a guess of mine.
And I should bet you more than $1, but what are those states?
Oh gosh, if I had to guess the states that are having, so let's think about this. So Florida's on the list,
Okay. I'm
Louisiana,
writing this down. Florida, Louisiana. Okay.
um, I'll go Arizona, Texas, and California. What the heck? Those are the five I'm
California.
guessing.
Okay, great. I'm betting you $1 on this, Michael.
Nice. So you think it's more even then?
Hard to say. I'm interested in where we'll do it as a percentage of also properties
Yeah.
on, so we'll normalize it as
Okay.
properties on Hemling to make it more fair.
Sure.
Louisiana, why?
I think Louisiana is a state that I've looked at. It's when you look at unemployment, it's in a recession. I think the state of Louisiana is in a recession. They also have the most underwater homes when you look at the data. I think Louisiana is feeling a recession first.
Okay, okay, great. And that I didn't know or haven't seen, so I'm gonna dig into that more. Other states, I think make sense. Cost of living has increased, I think, significantly in them compared to where they were.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at Florida and Texas. So I could definitely see that. And then those people are still their lifestyles of traveling and stuff like that are very much there. So those are probably some of my assumptions. What are some of your other assumptions of why these tenants may be falling behind and why we see 106% increase here?
Well, because when I look at this, and if I break it down to the states and I'm right, even if the 5 states I picked aren't right, but 5 states make up 80% of the increase, that's more of a state issue. Like this, the economy
Mhm.
rolling into a recession in different states will be impacted. If it turns out that it's really well divided, that actually really concerns me. That, like, if you look at it and there's no clear leader, or maybe there's no clear second,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is like recession red alert, would be my thoughts on that. Did we lose you, Dana? Oh, there she is.
I'm here. I just apologies about that. I don't know what happened. I'm back.
Starlink's service in Africa had a little hiccup. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yep.
There you go. So I
I'm
don't know. Did
back.
you hear me?
I heard most of that it's essentially government too, and
Yeah.
who they have, right? So I definitely see that. Great. Well, I'm looking forward to next month. I'm hoping it's good news for landlords. I'm
Yeah.
hoping it's good news for renters. And I
blip,
hope
yeah.
these numbers are down and that it's a blip, but we'll see.
Yeah, I do, because as you know, once trends get going, there are some numbers that take the elevator up and the stairs down. And this is a 1 month concern, but we gotta look for the follow through, because any single data point's not a trend. But you throw August in there and we go from 970 to 1270, this could be a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
This could be
Yeah,
a problem.
definitely.
All right. If somebody wanted to play with Hemlane, see what's what, get advertising, use the free version, all of this wonderful stuff, where do we send them?
Yeah, you can go to Hemlane, HEMLANE.com, and just mention one rental at a time, because you do get 20% off for those free plans or for the paid plans.
There you go. You're great, Dana. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much for having me.